ever just imagine what it's like to grow up as a fan of a sports team? Or ever ask yourself, why did I become a fan of that team? And the baggage and the legacy that came with it. And if you are a bandwagoner, yeah, I don't support you. I hate bandwagoners. I really, really do. Bandwagoners are like parasites to like the bad guys in films. They're just there to follow the team they believe is going to be the successful, therefore they can always be positive. True fans go through decades of losing. True fans go season in and season out with the hope that a winning season is in their future. A true fan goes through the turmoil season in and season out. And for those true fans that were alive to see their team win it all, that cements their legacy as fandom for life. So, let's talk about a historic franchise that for the life of me, I can't help but feel it's like a distant cousin of mine. I can't help but root for them. I can't help but support them. And for the life of me, I don't know why. So, hey everybody, I'm Cortez and I'm a critic and welcome back. We're continuing our NFL 2025 draft recap and we are going in the NFC North and we're talking about the Bears as now they are officially, well not officially, they are rebooting themselves again as they got a brand new head coach and a quarterback that has to learn a brand new thing again, but this time will be different because you gotta be optimistic when you're a diehard Bears fan. So Chicago, I don't want to be mean and say the Caleb Williams experiment was, I'm gonna say lacking, and some of the it just never felt like the Bears knew what they were doing. And a lot of it I go up to the coaching and management department, not so much the players. I think the Caleb Williams hype was overblown, but then again, that's to be expected if you're the number one overall pick. And everything on paper looked like it was destined for Bears success. But for those commentators that get paid so much more than me, and they wear suits that cost probably more as much as my rent, and probably the next 3 months of rent, that were saying the Bears are going to the Super Bowl, I think there needs to be a psych evaluation on that person's head, because it's okay to be optimistic, but it's kind of dangerous to be oblivious. So, and with the NFC North looking like they're ready for another gladiatorial conquest in this whole season coming up, the Bears probably have the most pressure because, let's be real, if you got the number one overall pick at quarterback, you're kind of hoping that the rookie season is kind of like understandable and forgettable and forgivable, but the second year better show something, or else, I mean, let's be real, Bryce Young got benched in Carolina. Then he came back and looked great. And now people are thinking, could that continue next year? So Caleb, let's see what you got. And, well, I forgot to label something. Give me, let me trade it up. With the 10th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan. Now, Ty Warren of Penn State and Loveland were the two tight ends that I think a lot of Bears fans, a lot of commentators from YouTube to ESPN and in between thought Chicago was going to get a tight end to go with the receivers and the offensive weapons that they had. Now, I thought Cole Kmet was still good, so Colston Loveland is just, I guess, guilt. I mean, top 10 pick, they could have gone defense. There's a lot of players that could have gone in between. There was even talks about Ashton Genty, but he was taken long before that, but there were talks about it. And with everything in between, I think this was just a pick of which one you like better. There's a bunch of sports cars in the lot, and you're just thinking, I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with a German-made one, or I go with the Italian-made one. And I think that's what the Bears kind of came down to it. They're trying to feel like, what offers more than just being a tight end? And Colston Loveland does have that blocking capability, which is good for the rushing attack, but he also have that, one-on-one deep threats. Colston Loveland is probably what most people view tight ends today as. He is a tight end, but he catches like a wide receiver. Some tight ends are just heavy receivers. They're just they're like 20 pounds heavier than most of the stereotypical receiver frame they go to, and he goes down to it, but he's not really meant for blocking as much for just catching. Loveland could be blocking and receiving, and he's very strong in both. And like I said, they got Cole Kmet still, so it's not like he's going to be thrust into it, but don't be surprised if Colston Loveland becomes the red zone, target receiver, or he just become one of those guys that he can just take over the middle of the field. This to me just felt more of the Bears just want a new toy for Caleb to kind of make him see like, hey, and plus this was Benny Johnson's first pick as a head coach of the Bears. So this kind of feels a little bit like, okay, I can see where Benny Johnson, the offensive corner of the Lions, is going to go. And here they went offense, and they went with the tight end new toy for Caleb, which I've always said tight ends are young quarterback's best friend. For whatever reason, because they're a bigger frame, so they can probably out-muscle most linebackers and defensive backs to get the ball. And most than likely, they're not going to go too far away from the quarterback's range, so therefore they can catch those 5, 6, 10-yard routes and bail the quarterback out. Haha, rhyming. So to me, this was more of a new toy for Caleb. Then we go to the second round with the 39th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Chicago Bears selected Luther Burden III, wide receiver, Missouri. So, one, I'm surprised Luther dropped out of the first round, especially when some people got receivers that didn't expect were going to be receivers anyway. But he dropped out, and I can't help but feel like, this was probably the next way to go. For my Bears fans out there that are more involved in the Bear Nation, Roma Doomsday, how do you guys felt about his rookie season? Honestly, I felt like DJ Moore was more of the receiving threat, rightfully so, even though there were talks about him potentially going to being a trade for value. And we all know that the rest of the receivers they got didn't really get the sense. Like I said, on paper, the Bears look really good offensively, just somehow the execution didn't work out, and that could be resorted to a little bit of everything. Rookie, leadership, coaching, health, Chicago, whatever. So, I don't know. Did Roma Doomsday make Bears fans really? Because when it came to the wide receivers that were drafted, like I said, it was Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors I keep hearing more and more of during the season. And even then, I was like, I don't hear a lot about Marvin Harrison Jr., and I definitely hear a lot about Roma Doomsday. And then, of course, Brock Bowers broke tight end record with a quarterback carousel in Las Vegas. So it just felt like, these receivers were considered like the ones and twos. They were top 5 caliber receivers, even maybe in top 3. So why didn't make a splash as we thought? And Luther is another young wide receiver joining the Bears to go in with basically still a young. He's going to learn the same offense for the first time like Caleb. So basically, they're both back to square one. So Caleb has 2, potentially 3 rookie receivers now, with Loveland the tight end and the 2 receivers, and a Doomsday and Burden the third. So you can almost say that they're all back to square one, and Luther was the best wide receiver available, and kind of like, yeah, because let's be real. There was so talk about DJ Moore being a trade casualty, and DJ Moore is an older veteran. So you kind of want to say, do we see DJ Moore here for 10 years? Probably not, for price tag and age. So maybe you want to give Caleb 2 young receivers and a Doomsday and Bird the third and Loveland to become that new Chicago Bear, trifecta receiving threat for the next 10 years. I don't know. Maybe that's what I want to do. To me, this is more of, we want to give Caleb every option. And this is another pick that just screams Benny Johnson. Let me give my starting quarterback all the toys he wants. Then, a few picks down the line, still in the second round. With the 56th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected Ozzie Trapilo, offensive tackle, Boston College. Now, Trapilo, to my knowledge, is a right tackle, and they got Darryl Wright from Tennessee, so okay, so I guess insurance policy to solidify the offensive line, because this also screams very similar. Funny enough, this seems very similar to how the Green Bay Packers drafted the player. They got 2 wide receivers and an offensive tackle. Here they got technically 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 wide receiver, and then an offensive tackle to protect. So I can almost say this feels more like 2 weapons and an insurance defense protection for your quarterback. You know, you got a brand new engine and you got brand new tires, and now you got to make sure that insurance rate don't go too up, so you get a good offensive tackle. And you got a right offensive tackle. Braxton Jones solidifying on the left side, so that's fine. And Darryl Wright, like I said, they drafted him recently, so he's not completely, forgotten or unknown, but this just feels a little bit like, are we getting insurance for an insurance? Is Ozzy might be changed into a different position, like he might move inside? What are we doing, Chicago? But like I said, Benny Johnson, this just screams Benny Johnson. You got new toys and you got insurance policy for Caleb. This is the way they're going to go with, and let's be real, Caleb kind of got sacked a little too many times, some of it on his own, and some of it him just dancing too much, not just throwing the ball away. So maybe this is more of just, we're giving you protection, and then protection of that protection. So this definitely feels this is for Caleb. For Caleb. And then still in the second round, they got 3 picks in the second round. I guess they really doubled up. With the 62nd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected Sherman Turner, defensive tackle, Texas A&M. Now, the Bears run a 4-3 defense. Montez Sweat was a great addition. They got Grady Jarrett, so they got a veteran in there. And I think the Bears' defense was a bright spot going into the regular season last year. I mean, Hard Knocks really made it seem that way. And thanks to a prime opportunity by bad offensive plays, the defense, feasted on weak offenses. But then the Caleb thing didn't really help too much showcase how successful the Bears defense was, because the offense didn't really make him feel like, hey, you made a big stop. We're gonna show you a fair. No, we go 3 and out. Back on defense, you guys. So I can feel the love with most Bears defensive players in this one. And this one was Sherman Turner. They currently have him at the right defensive tackle side. I mean, you got Grady Jarrett in there, a veteran for the Atlanta Falcons. This is definitely for rotation. This is definitely designed to help keep the young fresh. Get the young. Man, I'm trying to combine 2 things here. Keep the starting players fresh in the legs, but also getting fresh faces involved into the defense very early. So this is definitely rotation. This is definitely meant design, and this is the way the Bears are going to go moving forward. As Benny Johnson, I feel like he says, I got my toys. Now the rest of you can solidify the rest of the team, because I got what I wanted, and I'm already liking what I see with what was here already established. So this is probably what I felt like it probably went to go, because the rest of it is basically just defense for the Bears until the very, very end, which kind of felt more as a, okay. So, like I said, 3 second round picks, and then they take a break. All the way, almost completely 60+ picks later, in the 4th round, with the 132nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected Ruben Hypolite, linebacker, Maryland. Okay, I said before my past videos, but look, another Maryland player. Seriously, what's going on with the Terrapins over there? So, okay, looking at the linebacking core of it, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Ruben, and here we go, Ruben. Ruben is viewed as the starting strong side linebacker already for the Bears. Never really felt like the Bears linebacking side has not really. I feel like the Bears secondary and the Bears defensive line has been the focal point. I think the linebacker side is kind of like a combination of rookies that haven't really proven and veteran they brought in to hopefully develop into something solidifying. So, I mean, I think everyone knows who TJ Edwards is. I think everyone knows who Tremaine Edmonds is, but no one is making that splash excitement inside linebacker side. And putting Ruben here as a strong side linebacker, he definitely feels that they are trying to make the middle linebacker, I guess in a way, keep up with what the defensive line is doing and what the secondary is doing. Make that whole defensive balance out. I never really felt like the Bears linebacking side was a problem with the Bears defense. I think it was just that the Bears defense was out there too much. And the offense sometimes didn't help them out. So I think a lot of it was just that they were just getting gassed. They were getting tired. And then in some cases, they just, break down towards the end of the games. So to me, this is designed just to, we need a needed linebacker. Let's get this rookie, plug him in, and we'll see what happens in preseason. We'll see how well he gets involved into the defenses. And it's a 4-3 defense, so, and being a strong side linebacker, that has a little bit more responsibilities. Not as much responsibility as a weak side linebacker does, but definitely is, I think middle linebacker has more of a direct the defense type of approach, while the side is, don't get beat and definitely don't get blocked out or double team outweighed, especially for the Russian lanes. Then we go to the 5th round with the 169th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Chicago Bears selected Za Frazier, cornerback, UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. Go Roadrunners, beep beep. Okay, so we go corner here. All right. I could have sworn the cornerback side, at least the defensive back department was fine. Let me see what they have. They currently have Frazier, as the backup to the left corner side behind Jalen Johnson, who I thought is one of their cornerstone on their defensive side ever since he came into the league. So, okay. So my guess is this is for rotation, this is for depth, probably contribute on special teams, but maybe just to help out with Jalen Johnson to keep him fresh when it comes down to crunch time. Not a bad way to learn from another player that has developed very quickly as a star player on this team. So, development, rotation, substitute for, a breather. So, but I'll probably see what he does in preseason and see if he solidifies a spot. I'm surprised they did not put him at nickel. I'm surprised that he's clearly viewed as a corner, but I have seen defensive backs that come in as one way and then they get transitioned to another way and they have thrived in it. So, don't be surprised if you hear that Frazier gets moved to nickelback or a different position on the defensive backside. Then we go to the 6th round with the 195th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Chicago Bears selected Luke Newman, offensive tackle, Michigan State. So, Luke Newman is currently an offensive tackle on Michigan State, but according to the ESPN depth chart, they have Luke Newman as the 3rd string center. So like I said before, we have seen offensive linemen get moved into a different position. A center is one of those positions that I always feel that if you're good as a center, you almost have like a more secure position. Because you gotta, identify the protection scheme, you identify the blitz package, you gotta communicate with the quarterback. The quarterback better be like this to understand everything, so also you both don't screw yourselves over. And also, centers has that if you have a good center, it helps out the rest of the offensive line. You can have a great left tackle, but if the center is not that strong, then the left tackle can only do so much. But the center has to be valuable. And then moving him from an offensive tackle to a center, I can't help but feel like, yes, he's projected as a 3rd string center, but that just tells me that he's versatile. He probably playing multiple positions on the offensive line down the line. We'll see what happens during training camp, and of course, see what happens during the preseason. But if Luke gets viewed as the as the Swiss Army knife offensive lineman, that he develops and learns different schemes or different protections, don't be surprised. Like I said, I've seen this happen before where guards go to center and even tackles go into centers. And some of them that got into center because kind of had to due to injuries, they're now on new teams still as a center. I guess they never went back to the original position they were drafted for. Not a bad thing. I think a center has a little bit more chance at job security than most offensive linemen. And then with the last pick, in the 7th round, with the 233rd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears selected Kyler Monangia, Running back, Rutgers. Hopefully I pronounced that name right. Monajani. Monajani? Yeah. Kyle! Running back, Rutgers. DeAndre Swift has been in the league for a while, so I get that. Roscoe Johnson. Who? Sorry, not that kind of guy. But okay. And then here you got Kyle number 3. Rotation, depth, possibly. Maybe competing for the backup, but 3 running backs during a regular season and sometimes 3 running backs during the game is not a bad thing. So for all I know, this was more of an intangible pick. He's 5'8", 211. Can't help but feel like the stigma of short running back with elusive speeds and much more physicality. Bucky Irvin, anybody? Darren Sproles, anybody? Tariq Cohen, who was another short running back that the Bears got, and he was dynamic as a speed demon. So this could be just another thing of Benny Johnson thinking he may not be the every down third type kind of back, but he might have some intangibles to do it. And I can't help but feel like the stigma of running backs has shifted a little bit, and a lot of it has started with Barkley, and it has begun with Barkley again. Barkley didn't get paid by the Giants. Barkley goes to the Eagles. He won a Super Bowl and basically was one of the greatest players in Philadelphia that year, and maybe helped the running back committee go in. So maybe running backs are now getting a little bit more respect. Plus, I feel like they're being viewed more as intangibles, as attributes, more than just run the ball between the tackles, run the ball between the tackles, run the ball between the tackles. They're being viewed a little bit more fairly and probably a little bit more dynamically. And the way this looks to me, remember, Benny Johnson, offensive-minded guy, can't help but feel like let him cook. Let him see what he has here. Honestly, I won't be surprised if Kyle is one of those explosive third down screen passes, 60-yard type players. Who knows? But right now, this is all meant to help the Bears finally reach the potential that they all thought Caleb was going to do last year. But now with a new head coach and a new captain, new regime, this is meant to be the Bears' future. And that's all the Bears picks. The grade I give the Bears, a lot of this banks on Benny Johnson and Caleb Williams working together and how quickly can they get involved. There's a lot of rookies that got drafted by the last coaching staff that are going their second year and basically have to relearn a whole new offensive scheme from a much more prestigious viewing offensive-minded coach in Benny Johnson, who held the Lions as a coordinator, but now he is the captain of the ship. So basically almost every rookie that was a starter or drafted by the last coaching and administration are back to square one again. So technically you can almost say the Bears have almost double the amount of starters that are rookies again. So going based on that, they're not worse, and I really cannot see them as contenders. I'm sorry, I am not drinking that Kool-Aid. The Bears to me are a better team. They look better, they sound better. They got the coach that they probably really wanted. They're willing to give up half a Chicago for type level of want. I mean, it's a division foe, and those are very hard to come by. When trading among your division is almost kind of like, well, that ain't gonna happen no matter what it is. So to me, this feels like the Bears should be happy with what they got because they got what they wanted. And Benny Johnson will give them what he desires. So the Bears are better. I hope so. But a lot of this banks on Caleb and Benny Johnson getting involved and all the rookies and the second-year players sinking. How quickly can that get involved? So we'll see what happens in preseason. But don't be surprised, we won't find out anything until probably the first 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season, because most of the time they don't play their rookies or play their starters in the preseason, and they definitely don't show anything too special in preseason because they just want to get the muscles, get the blood circulating to the regular season. So we'll see what the Bears do, but right now they're better. And the player I'm most excited about watching, give me the tight end Loveland. I think Loveland is the player because, like I said, Ty Warner and Loveland were the 2 tight ends that were always talked about as whoever gets drafted first, the next tight end is going to be him. I thought Ty Warner was going to go to Chicago because of his athleticism and his ability to be a versatile player, and I thought probably that felt more to Benny Johnson's type idea. But the woman Loveland, who probably was more of a solidified tight end than Ty Warner. Ty Warner has that Taysom Hill type look, and that's probably why he didn't get him. So to me, Loveland's the guy I'm most excited about because, like I said, they already got Cole Kmet, who I thought was a good tight end for the Bears. That's why the whole conversation about tight end was like, really? They have Cole Kmet. He's there. So to me, this was more of a, okay, Benny John, this is your first pick as the head coach of the Bears. You want Loveland? You got him. All right, let's see what you can do. And that is the Chicago Bears. That is their draft class. And now we have 2 teams left. And I guess we can talk about the team that I think everyone is most excited about. You're right. We're going to go to Detroit. We're going to talk about the Lions. I can't help but feel like this offseason is a little bit more of a do or die than the season before offseason. So next time we're talking about the Detroit Lions and see can they keep control of their short-lived king of the NFC North. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.